Hello and welcome to the Record Rangers podcast. My name is Andy Newport. As ever, I'm joined by my Daily Record colleague Scott McDermott. Scott, we've just been up this morning to see Derek McInnes ahead of tomorrow night's big conference. I don't know if you can call it that. No, I think reasonable, medium-sized Conference League playoff.
I think you get the final, it's quite big.
So Jablonec, again, my lack of pronunciation skills are going to let me down here. Jablonec, is that how I pronounce it? Jablonec, yeah, right, okay. Yeah, we'll hit and hope and try and get through it as best we can. What was obviously a busy day this morning. Kosta Nedeljković, again. That's better than my usual affairs. He's obviously signed.
Let's just call him Kosta.
He's signed on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. What do you make of the updates on that one today?
I think on the face of it, it looks like a decent signing for Rangers. It's obviously a conditional obligation to buy, which I'm assuming is the amount of games he's going to play between now and the end of the season. I think it's definitely an area they had to strengthen. I know Dujon Sterling played there at the weekend and did well, and I actually think Dujon Sterling, if he can stay fit and gets a run of games at right back for Rangers, he can be a really good right back. He's just never had that opportunity, and even when he did have a period where he was at full fitness, he was often used in midfield or out wide. So he can certainly do a job at right back, but I think getting the Serbian boy into Villa is a good signing. 20 years old, really highly rated at Villa. He was on loan obviously last season at RB Leipzig. Maybe didn't play as much as he'd hoped. I think he had a couple of injuries there as well, but I mean, I think they were ready to try and buy him at one point for 10, 50 million quid. He's a Serbian international already. From what I've heard, speaking to some people that know him, very quick, very strong, very athletic, getting up and down the pitch. Maybe not technically as good as a James Tavernier, for instance, who everybody will probably try and compare him to. But yeah, I think on the face of it, it's another decent signing. But as Derek McInnes said today, I mean, he sorted out the two full-back positions, but yet again, and he is sounding a bit like a broken record, he needs players in the final third. He wants more attacking options, and I think that's got to be the priority now between now and the end of the window.
Just before we go on to discuss that, and all the areas at the top end of the pitch he's still looking to fill, but it is interesting that again, you look at last season, the defence, it was packed with guys that were here on loan, and I think you could tell there was a sort of temporary feel about the squad at times last season. There was guys there you weren't really sure if they had that long-term commitment to the club, and I think that sort of played out in the way that basically the season fell apart. There was these guys there that it mattered not really a jot to them whether they won or lost last year. But again, Rangers find themselves with a back four, mostly of which is made up of loan signings. But I suppose the difference is you look at obviously Nedeljković, an obligation to buy. Ben Godfrey, option to buy him as well once he's back, and obviously James Penrice again, an option to buy him. Is this sort of buy? Try before you buy kind of set up? Does that make more sense here than the sort of just the straight loans we saw last year?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, people will probably still be critical, and you look at a Rangers back four, and as you say, potentially could have 3 loan signings in it. So I mean that's fair enough, but I agree with you. I think it is slightly different in terms of the personnel, in terms of the deals that Rangers have struck, in terms of the profiles of the players as well. I mean, we spoke to James Penrice after his debut on Sunday, and it's quite clear. I mean, he is determined to be a Rangers player next season already, and he's only had 1 game. So you would think, if everything goes to plan, he will be signed. Same with the Serbian boy for Villa. As I said, 20 years old. The deal that they've struck, depending on games, is a clear indication Rangers want to buy him and see him as a future Rangers player. So it is slightly different. You think last year guys like Nasser Giga, for instance, who you just always felt Wolves had signed him for like 10 million.
He was on £70,000 a week down the road.
Exactly.
So he wasn't going to happen.
No, he was always going to go back to Wolves. So I agree there was that kind of feeling of maybe a kind of lack of commitment for a couple of these guys, but it is different this time. Nobody's saying it's perfect, nobody's saying it's ideal, but they're in a slightly different position this season.
Just, go back to Sunday's game. Obviously, first win of the season. It's been the result that Derek McInnes has been waiting for. Huge sort of weight off his shoulders. You could see that even when the first goal goes in. I was sitting next to you, Scott, during the game, and as soon as that first goal goes in, I turn to you can see Derek McInnes down the touchline. You can see he's punching the air. As soon as the second goal goes in, again, the relief just seemed to come off. The pressure seemed to come off him. Came back on right off as soon as St Mirren got a goal back. But just in terms of a 5-1 win, getting a few goals, a bit of confidence, what difference can that do to this team, considering how tough they've had it at the start of the season?
It should give them an injection of confidence at the very least. And I totally agree. I mean, the relief. You think that first goal for Ryan Nadiri, I mean, the relief on Nadiri's face and on Derek McInnes' face was pretty evident. And then even the second goal goes in for Dragojevic. Again, I looked at Derek McInnes and he just kind of looked to the sky. You think, thank God, finally got a two-goal lead in a game. So, listen, it's the most obvious thing to say. He really needed that victory. I agree. I think it looked, even after the game, it looked as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. But look, it's only one game. He'll have been pleased, quite rightly. 5 goals, and it could have been more. I mean, they could have got 7 or 8 with the chances that they had. But it is just one game, and it's pointless producing that for one game if they don't then go and follow up. And I know they've no game at the weekend, but they've actually got a tough run of fixtures coming up, pretty hectic. The European tie, their next league game I think is away to Aberdeen. They've now got the Celtic Cup tie thrown in September as well. It's obviously an Old Firm double header, so there's no rest for Rangers. It's they have to build on that win for Sunday. I think they have to get a lead in the first leg of the European tie to try and ensure they get through in the Czech Republic next week. We'll obviously be there because they want to get group stage football, even if it is the Conference League. So, a big win for them. I thought a really good performance. Still bits to improve on, but in the main, really good performance, really good individual performances as well, and goals. But there's no point producing that. They have to follow it up. It has to be the same. I expect them to go with the same kind of formation, certainly same system. They have to follow that up with a similar performance.
So that's what I was going to come on to. I mean, there's a lot been talking about, the personnel that they've had to rely on, the changing of the teams, the half-time changes that Derek McInnes has made. But for me, the key difference at the weekend wasn't even so much the change of shape. I know people have been speaking about that. I'm only going with Nadiri up front as a lone striker and an extra body in midfield. For me, it was they got the ball forward quicker. They moved the ball into these positions where they could hurt St Mirren so much more quicker. And you look at, I thought James Pemberton's played a big part in that. There's a couple of times where his first instinct was just one touch and pass and just get it into the feet of Jerry Gisama and get Rangers running at St Mirren. So much, on the halfway line before St Mirren get a chance to set themselves. I mean, it was just a change of approach. There was a bigger hunger about them, but just a desire to move the ball at a better tempo. Was that something you agreed with?
Definitely. I think Penrice was key. I also think Dragojevic had a big part in that. The way they set up at the weekend, with Raskin obviously as a sitter, but with Chukwani and Dragojevic, and bear in mind Dragojevic came as a number 6, so that's where he was playing at Partizan. But he's got so much energy and enthusiasm, it almost seems wasted in a 6 position if he's just going to sit. Because I thought he was the real key to that performance, getting after people. Not just that, Andy, actually travelling with the ball, surging forward.
Ranger passing as well. We've seen this. I mean, obviously he's at fault for the St Mirren goal, but there's a couple of nice moments where he's got that big raking pass right across the side.
Both feet, not afraid to shoot. I think it sounds like a basic thing. I think fans in the last couple of years at Rangers have been crying out for somebody that is shots from outside the box. Looks, and pick up second balls. And I think right foot or left foot, he's always keen to have a shot. As I say, he travels forward with the ball. I was actually speaking to somebody at the club the other day about him, and they say he's Rangers haven't had somebody like that in a few years, actually running off the ball, getting into the box. I know there was a period under Barry Ferguson was here, temperature. Raskin and Diomande were actually quite good at it. But I don't think they've had anybody since then. And Dragojevic, I thought, really set the tempo for the team on Sunday.
I mean, just focusing on a couple of individuals that have had maybe a wee bit of sticks since we come here. We'll go into Manny Fernandez in a minute. The manager did speak about him today at the press conference, but for me, some of the interesting ones. I thought that was Jerry Gisama's best game in a long time. Obviously, gets a goal. So lucky the first half where he has that one where he cuts inside and shakes the crossbar and bounces down onto the goal line and something unscrambled to clear. But there's still times where I think he has Derek McInnes pulling his hair out. His decision making at times is he shoots when he should cross and he crosses when he shoots. But I thought that was his best game. And obviously, he takes his goal really well again. It's a James Penrice sort of first time pass into his feet and he slots it under the goalie. But I thought if you can get him into that kind of mood, get fit again, I think that's another issue. I think Derek McInnes even spoke about that he needs to be able to go up and down that touchline harder and for longer. And then just also touch Chukwani for me. I thought first half the game sort of passed him by a bit. For a guy with the sort of power and physique that he's got, there's too many times where he doesn't get involved. But I thought what you saw in the second half was him getting the ball, head down, and as usually with Dragicevic, just travelling, charging with the ball. Take acting a bit like a wrecking ball, just ploughing your way through 10-15 yards, drawing bodies in. And just a simple pass, and even that was just so effective at getting Rangers up the pitch into dangerous areas.
No, I agree. Gisama, you're right, I think frustrates the life out of managers at times because they see he's got all the ability in the world. I mean, technically, I don't think anybody would have any complaints about Gisama, and he's actually proved since he came to Rangers he's capable of getting goals as well. So he's got certain things in his locker, he just doesn't produce them consistently enough. I think Derek McInnes sees that in him. That's why he's given him a few chances already this season when a lot of people thought he'd maybe try and get rid. But what is he, 23, 24? Gisama, there is time there's time for him to develop and improve. And I do think he's got him and Finlay Curtis on the left hand side. I think he'd probably like another, he touched on it today, probably like a wide player who can maybe actually play on both sides to supplement Yokota on the right as well, who's come in. So he definitely wants another wide player, but there's an opportunity there for Gisama. It's just whether he goes and takes it or not. I think McInnes will give him a chance. And in terms of Chukwani, at times last season, and even when he started at Tannadice, first game of this season, you're just trying to work out what kind of midfielder he is, what is he actually bringing to the party. And I remember speaking to Max Johnson, who played with him at Sturm Graz, and had a big piece of him. I mean, he compared him to Paul Pogba at the time. And people might laugh at that, but you can see where Max is coming from in terms of the physical attributes he's got, the body shape he's got, the power he's got. He just hasn't done enough, Chukwani, since he came in. He hasn't shown enough for the money Rangers paid for him. I think on his day, he could be a really strong midfielder, that goes box to box and does everything you would want in a midfielder. I think when he arrived last season, if you remember, Connor Barron had got injured and they brought Chukwani in, and it looked as if this is exactly what they need, a bit of physicality in the middle of the pitch.
He got a goal against Kilmarnock.
That's right. It was something Rangers had lacked. That physicality was something that I think most people thought Rangers lacked in the middle of the pitch. But again, as the season tailed off, his form tailed off, and he's another one you were looking at the start of this season, thinking, is the new manager going to give him an opportunity? Is he going to move him on? He got his chance at the weekend. I agree, first half quiet, second half really came into his own. And again, it's up to the player. I think the manager's giving guys opportunities, but they need to go and take them, and it can't just be a one-off performance. It has to be sustained, good form with their impact and an influence in games. If the likes of Chukwani and Gisama can do that, then they can be part of Derek McInnes' tenure.
I mean, I was on Hotline Live last night with Angus, and we were discussing Manny Fernandez. And for me, this game tomorrow night against Jablonec is a huge game for me for Manny Fernandez, because I think right now with Ben Godfrey apparently come back for the second leg over Czech Republic, I think Derek McInnes right now is minded to bring him straight back in, because I think Manny Fernandez is really struggling compared to his form last season when he gets so much praise. I think he's a guy that looks like he is maybe coasting the wrong word, but he doesn't have that pressure of somebody breathing down his right. He's lost a wee bit of his mojo and maybe needs to come out the team for a wee spell just to get his, maybe rediscover a wee bit of his confidence. Definitely stay up his focus levels. That's been the thing we've spoken about him for so long. But I mean, obviously, I think you asked the question today to Derek McInnes. I mean, what's your own feeling on that? What do you think his future is in the next couple of weeks? Is he got to be worried about his position?
Well, put it this way, Andy, I think as it stands now, if the Villa boy who's come in at right back is fit and available, which we think he is, it'll be in Derek McInnes' mind now. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but it will be in his mind now. Could he start him at right back and play Sterling alongside McCann at centre back? That's how poor I think Emmanuel Fernandez's form's been at the start of the season. I don't think the lack of competition and the lack of defenders at the back has helped the manager or Fernandez, because the players pretty much known that he's going to play every game, because they've had no centre backs at the start of the season for one reason or another. But I agree with you. I think his concentration levels and his focus levels have been really poor in the game so far. His game awareness, game intelligence, to me, just hasn't been there. I think I said it myself the other night in the hotline when there was one moment at the weekend. I think it was Rangers had just scored the second goal. Yeah. The whole crowd was up. They were singing. There was a real positive feel about the place again. 2-0 up after an absolute screamer for Dragojevic. And literally St Mirren's first attack after that, Fernandez dilly-dallies in the ball, he hesitates, he's too casual. He gets in a tangle with Sula, the St Mirren striker, and they win a corner, and in a split second, the whole crowd just turned, and they were all on Fernandez's back.
And that's what Derek McInnes said after the game. They cannot be. This team is still fragile, still vulnerable to one moment. One moment can turn the whole mood, and you can see it. And I think the fans are just as susceptible to that. But it was from that, just flicker of that change of mindset within the stadium. A couple of minutes later, then obviously Dragijevic gets caught with a short pass to Raskin, and it's a fantastic strike from Chris Mockery. But this is where this club, this team, and its individuals within it still don't have that robust nature about them that they can shrug off a mistake. One mistake sends them into a tailspin.
But that's where it comes down to Fernandez's mindset for me, Andy, and his game intelligence. As a player, knowing everything that you've said there about fragility and vulnerability and where Rangers have been, if you're a player or you're a centre back and you go 2-0 up and you hear the crowd are up and it's there's a positive energy about the place, when that ball gets knocked over the top, you need to realise the only thing they want you to do is just clear your lines and just deal with it. And that would have continued the positive energy for him. But instead, Fernandez has almost took the opposite attitude of, well, we're 2-0 up now, it's fine. I can take a chance. Yeah. That has to change. I mean, you're right. That's been what's wrong. What's been wrong here for far too long. And I'm just amazed. I'm amazed that we're a year on for Fernandez coming in. When he actually said when he arrived that he felt concentration, that was maybe his biggest weakness and he had to improve on it. It's a worry for me that a couple of different managers now have obviously tried to drill it into him about staying focused, and it doesn't seem to be working. I mean, this is a boy that was Rangers Player of the Year last season. People forget when fans voted him Player of the Year, linked with big moves in the summer. I don't know whether even that's maybe went his head a wee bit. You wouldn't like to think so, but you never know. And I just think if he doesn't switch on pretty soon, I agree with you. I think when Ben Godfrey's back fit, he'll probably come straight back in, and Fernandez will also have to sit it out. And listen, that might help him. Yeah. As I say, that lack of competition, if he comes out the team, realises he's got really good players to compete with if he wants to play for Rangers, it might actually do him a world of good.
I think it has to be the wake-up for him, because you look at him, and we've all discussed the attributes they got. I mean, 6'4", man mountain.
He's a monster.
Yeah, man mountain. He's quick for his size, strong. He can play.
Goals.
Yeah, a threat at set pieces. We can give him the right deliveries. But it's been the thing that we've said about him all along.
Too lackadaisical.
And maybe, listen, he definitely does have a just a natural way about him. Maybe that's just his persona. That he's got this, relaxed, laid back sort of look about him.
Hope it doesn't drive him very well. He's not listening to us.
But it does. But definitely, especially in an environment like Ibrox, we know, especially all the scar tissue in the stadium, you cannot feed into anxiety levels by that. He has to realise and he has to sense the danger. And he's had a lot of plaudits last season, and there's a lot of talk about big moves. Leverkusen linked with him, and even Arsenal partly taking a look at him, if you believe that. But the point is that he's never going to achieve if you think that the scrutiny and the pressure levels at Rangers are high, to go to one of those kind of clubs, he has to fix that. That's the fundamental flaw in his game, and he has to fix it.
Those aspects of his game you're talking about undoubtedly will be the key to where Fernandez's career goes. If he can add that to his game, that hunger to defend, that desire to defend and do the basics of defending right, that will take him to another level above Rangers. But with all those attributes he's got, if he doesn't, if he continues in this vein where there are regular lapses of concentration that are costing his team, costing goals, he won't go beyond this level. And that's what I'm saying. He'll struggle to get a game here because there will be others come in, whether it's Godfrey, McCann, whether they go and sign another centre back. He will struggle to get a start for Rangers if it continues like that.
Just on seamless transition here, people struggling to get a game for Rangers. We spoke to Derek McInnes this morning about obviously Lawrence Shankland, named club captain, but he's already 5 games into the season. He's already been dropped for 2 of those. McInnes was at pains to point out that listen, he thinks he'll come good. He's only got the 1 goal from the penalty spot against Hibs, I think it was. But he having worked with him at Hearts last year, knows him, his game inside out. It's, in fact, he basically said that he wasn't worried at all about his form level. But when you look at him, the way that Rangers performed at the weekend without him in the team, taking that second striker, putting it into midfield, and the stability that gave him the centre pitch and allowed him to get the 2 high players up wide. Obviously, Nadiri, the kind of praised the way we all know he's had a difficult time start to his Rangers career, but his ability to sort of run off the ball and put teams under pressure with his pressing. And there's a part of you that thinks that Lawrence Shankland might not have the kind of role to play that he thought of, even though he is club captain. And I say this because there's still a lot of rumours about Kevin Kelsey, the Portland Timber striker, coming in. Yep. The Rangers are still desperate to get another striker and having lost use of Chermiti. Is there a part of you just thinking maybe this might not be the season that we all thought for Lawrence Shankland?
Oh, look, I still think Lawrence Shankland will have a big impact at Rangers this season, and not just on the pitch, off it as well. I think just having a Lawrence Shankland in the building here will help Rangers and improve them. I think they needed those type of characters to come in the summer. Am I surprised that he's not really hit the goal trail yet? Of course I am, but I'm also surprised with Rangers' start to the season under McInnes, where Sunday apart they've obviously struggled for goals. There's no doubt Shankland is probably at his best in a front pairing when the team does go 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 or whatever. Obviously the weekend Derek McInnes went back to 1 up top, and I think most people would agree playing the lone striker role maybe isn't Shankland's best position. And Nadiri, who's a runner, and he's physical, he's probably more suited to that role, and Rangers obviously get the benefit of it. So I think Shankland's going through a wee bit of a tough spell. You'll need to look at his reaction when he came off the bench on Sunday. He actually does brilliantly in terms of his improvisation for the shot off the post that Ross McCausland scores. And it's funny, I only noticed it watching the highlights that McCausland actually puts the ball in. Shankland's raging, his hands are up in the air because he can't believe he's hit the inside of the post, and then his pals obviously get a tap in. I still think he'll get goals. Look, will it be the 25-30 goals that maybe most people, including myself, predicted he'd get at Rangers? Maybe not. Certainly if Derek McInnes sticks to 1 up front, 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever it might be, then he might not get as much game time. As you say, he's been left out a couple of games. The only goal he's got is a penalty. I think it was Jablonec scored the penalty against. That's his only goal. His only goal so far. So you'll be desperate to get a goal. How often do we say it about strikers? Once you get the first one, it'll kind of kick on. And I mean first one for open play. So no, I think Shankland will still have a big part, but he's got to kind of fight his way through this wee period, keep being a good team player, whether it's on or off the pitch. That's his role. That's his role as captain, obviously. And I think if Rangers get up and running, once the window closes, Derek McInnes gets his squad together, that he wants, hopefully that he wants. I think you'll see the team improving. I think his performances improve and results improve. Shankland will come into his own and start getting goals. And who knows, Andy? See when Rangers are in a good place and they're winning games and they're challenging at the top of the league, and if they're going in a run of wins, there will be games when Derek McInnes goes to a two up front and can go 4-4-2. And you would like to think that's when Shankland will really come into his own.
Well, we will see how Lawrence Shankland and Rangers fare tomorrow night against Jablonec in the Conference League playoff first leg. You can keep up to date with everything that happens at Ibrox online, at Record Sport Online, and also in the paper. We thank you. We encourage you, if you could, to like and share the podcast on all the usual platforms, as that helps us to spread it far and wide. Scott and I, we will see you next week. Thank you.